come. It's all good. Welcome to day one of the Christian Urban Preparedness course. So today we're going to review the plan, and I'm going to check if anyone has made a plan, because last week after the sermon someone came up to me and said, "Oh, I have a plan," and that plan was to fly to the Philippines. I went, okay, that's plan A, so what's plan B? She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, at the moment, we can't fly anywhere. But imagine this. You cannot fly anywhere unless you have had your vaccine, which in turn, technically, is the mark." Because I don't know if you know now, but to get through border control at Sydney Airport, you have to put your passport on the thing, it scans the chip in your passport, and then it takes facial recognition. If you don't pass those two biometric security conditions, you get red flagged, and then they take you into a nice little office and put the gloves on. I know, because I was that guy. So if conditions get worse, which they will if you believe your Bible, how are you going to get out of the country without a mark? So this is where a plan B and C and D and comes into it. Because if your plan A is fly to the Philippines and bug out in the Philippines, how are you getting to the Philippines? And then she said, "Oh, I'll just translate." All well and good, yes, but is that God's purpose? See, what we don't often understand about translation is it's God's will, not yours. I would love to translate to Hawaii right now. Lord, translate me to Hawaii. No, I'm still here, because that's my will. That's not his will. You often hear of translation stories. Usually it's not of the person's actual doing or want. They've just gone somewhere and they've been translated somewhere, and then they have a mission to do, whether it is talk to a person or help someone or whatever. Usually translation happens through God's will. If it's God's will to translate you to the Philippines, then fair enough, it's his will. But what's your plan B? Yeah? So who here, after going through plan A, has a plan B? What about a plan C? Anything? Okay, that's something we have to look at. That's something we have to address. Because if stuff kicks off, something else we're going to look at today is, are we going to bug in or bug out? Everyone know what bug in and bug out means? No? Bug in means staying put inside a structure, fortifying that structure, and that's where you stay. Bugging out means getting out of a structure, heading to a secondary or tertiary structure elsewhere, and waiting. So, who was here for the day zero? Yeah, okay. So we'll go back through the plan, because something I didn't really emphasize in the plan was code black. I kind of joked about it and went, it's by Armageddon, but technically it is, okay? So at code black is our worst case scenario. It's literally the one world government is in effect. The Antichrist has decreed all Christians to be locked up, and that's when the mark happens, and that's when all that happens. That's code black for me, because they will start hunting us. That's the fact, if you believe your Bible. So when they start hunting us, what would you do? Where are you going to go? That's where bug in and bug out comes into it. But for the sake of, we'll just go back and review the plan and just have a quick look at that. And like I said, do you have a plan? What's your plan? See, that's something Christians overlook. If you're not situationally aware and turned on, as in switched on, to what's going on, you're oblivious to what's really going on. So what is your plan? Where are you going to go? How are you getting there? What happens if plan A is a bust? What's your plan B? What happens if plan B blows up in your face? What's your plan C? Why do I say this? Because if you don't have a plan, you're the blind leading the blind, as Scripture tells us. If you have a plan but you don't have a contingency or a secondary plan, plan B, if that plan A happens to not be able to be done, once again, you're the blind leading the blind. And even worse, you won't know what to do. You'll shut down. You'll be like a deer in the headlights, and whatever happens, happens. So, do you have a plan? Get a plan. Have a plan of attack. What are you going to do if this happens? What if you're going to do if this happens? What happens if we have another shutdown? What are you going to do? You're going to raid the stores for toilet paper again? I hope not. But what happens? How do you communicate the plan? Okay, let's say you have a plan. How do you communicate your plan? For yourself, you know what the plan is, so you don't have to communicate it to yourself. But you have to communicate it to your family. You have to communicate it to your group. You have to, if you want to, communicate it to your community. Remember, we're not just talking about Antichrist stuff here. What if there's a tsunami? What if there's an earthquake? We live on a major fault. If you look that way, at the big set of mountains there, that goes all the way to Victoria, that cracks in half. Where are we going? Into the sea. Say bye-bye. Go swim with the turtles. So it's... Or the Manly Ferry, yeah. So this isn't just for that kind of stuff. This is for every kind of scenario that you can think of. See, I come from a background where I didn't think of anything really. I played, I had fun, I rode my bike. My biggest care was, what am I going to do on the weekend? My furthest thought was, what's for dinner? I was never prepared. I was never situationally aware. I was never a step ahead of where I needed to be. I was always behind the curve. I wasn't in the middle of the curve, and I definitely wasn't ahead of the curve. Ahead of the curve means you have plan A, plan B, plan C, and then contingencies off those plans and stuff put in place on the way to those plans. You're ahead of the curve. So how are you going to communicate, if you have a plan, the plan to everyone else? I came up with the traffic light system, because even my 6-year-old knows traffic lights. Green to go, amber means speed up. No, it doesn't. Red means stop, okay? Everyone knows traffic lights. Doesn't matter who you are, what country you live in, except India. If you've ever been to India, you'd understand what I mean. But everyone understands traffic lights. So the traffic light system is green, everything's okay. Pray. Amber, pray. But use caution, be aware. Start to look out for stuff. That's where situational awareness will come into it. And that's what we're talking about tonight. I'm going to start to go down the rabbit hole. You guys have no idea how deep this rabbit hole is. I'm going to let you put your head in the rabbit hole and see if you come up. Because later on, I'll get into it a bit later on. Okay, that was amber. So it's caution. Something's going on. Get your antenna up. Okay? Red, pray. Head home. Or as my family knows it, rally point home. Head to home. Go to your safe house. Go to your base. Go to your FOB. Forward operating. No, anyway. Go to your place where you know where everything is. So your house. You can lock the door because you know how to. You can close the windows because you know how to. You can even set alarms if you have alarms if you want to, because you know how to, because it's your house. You know where everything is. You're comfortable. You're not stressed. You're not freaking out. But if it's code red, now you're readying your bug out protocol, which means you get your bug out bags. Who here's got a bug out bag? No, you do. Okay, we're starting to get there. Good. Okay, so besides the plan, you need a bug out bag. What's a bug out bag? Bug out bag is a 12-hour bag, a get home bag, 72-hour bag, which is I need to go somewhere and get off the grid and it takes me 3 days to get there. So there's my pack for that. I also have an EDC, which is an everyday carry, which means everything I carry on me every day. And these two go with me everywhere. That one stays at home. That's my bug out protocol. So you ready your bug out protocol, set security, and await further instructions. Setting security for you guys could be as simple as praying. Okay? Never leave out praying, because praying is your first go-to. The Lord's always your first go-to. Your secondary is yourself. Okay, then we have brown. So we've gone through the traffic light system, now we hit brown. Everyone knows that stuff hits the fan on brown. That's when stuff starts to kick off and you know you need to do something. So you ready your bug out protocols? And for my family, we head to Rally Point Alpha. So I have plan A, get home, get safe. I have plan B, Rally Point Alpha. Rally Point Alpha is a place where I can go in walking distance that has shelter, has food, has water, and has a decent rural size where I can set decent security. So, for instance, living out here, we have the town centre 5 minutes away. I also have a place to go to that has 20 acres 10 minutes away in walking distance. But I've already set those plans in motion. So I already have plan A. Plan A doesn't work and stuff kicks off. I head to plan B. Now I don't just have a plan B, I have plan C. So that's plan black, that's code black. That's where stuff is really kicked off and I'm not telling people to bug out. They are doing it on their own and we're all rendezvousing at Zion. So Zion is plan C. Zion is a place, 3 days walk, so I don't need a car, I don't need to hit the roads, I don't need money, I don't need anything else except the pack on my back to get there. And I have a pack for my 6-year-old, I have a pack for my 12-year-old, I have a pack for my 16-year-old, and I have a pack for my wife. They all get their packs on, we head to Zion, which is literally a 3-day walk. So I've made plans ahead of time. I'm ahead of the curve. Why? Because I don't just have a plan A. I don't just have a plan B. I also have a plan C. And plan C is for worst case scenario. Plan C is literally for the last days, where our Bible tells us they gather us all together and either take the mark or you chop your head off, or we're just going to chuck you into a concentration camp and leave you there for a while. Or we're going to torture you until you take it. If you don't believe Revelations, then, or Matthew 24, you're behind the curve straight away. If you don't have a plan, you're behind the curve straight away. If you don't know why you need a plan, you need to read your Bible. Because Jesus tells us to bug out to the mountains. When you see the desolation, what is it? What is it? Desolation of the abomination. He says, bug out to the mountains. Hope it's not in the winter or you're pregnant. I should be all right with that. Your Bible literally says it. Revelations goes even worse. So, have a plan. Start a plan. Because it's going to be too late by the time stuff kicks off and you have no plan whatsoever. What plan do you have in place today if something happened? The way I look at this is how much... Okay, here's a simple test for you. How much petrol do you have in your car right now? Okay? How far could you go on that amount of petrol? Right? That's all you got. Are you going to make it to your bug out place if you have that amount of petrol in your car right now? If it's a no, then you're going to have to walk the rest of the way. Do you have a bug out place? Okay. Well, no, because we'll go through it today. Sometimes the safest place is to bug in. Unless you have somewhere to go, don't be silly and think you can be magic bushman or woman and camp for the rest of your life, because it's not going to happen. You're going to die within 3 days. That's if you make it there. Why? Because you don't have a bug out bag. So what provisions do you have? Do you know how to find water? Do you know how to kill an animal? Do you know how to skin it? Do you know how to cook it? Do you know how to start a fire? Okay? Can you see how far ahead I am? Right? But that's because, like I said, before I didn't care about any of this stuff. I didn't think that far ahead. In the last 12 years, I've been put through, well, my line of work has made me switch on. So in the last 12 years, I've been put through courses that not many go through. Not many get to go through the courses I've been put through because of the places I've worked at. I've worked federal government and I've worked state government. And luckily for me, I started federal government. So the amount of training I got federally was... I did a 3-month course, put it that way. And I'll be teaching you this 3-month course. Not tonight, clearly. There's a bit more than goes into it than that. So we need to have a plan. It's something we overlook all the time. If you have no plan, what are you going to do? And that's a serious question. That's not a rhetorical question. That's not a what if. That is, what are you going to do? It's time to start thinking about it. Why? Because if you think about it when it happens, you're not going to think about it. You're going to shut down and you're just going to freeze up. I've seen it too many times. Okay. So now that I've shown you some planning stages that you can do, now you have to think about where you live. Don't forget, this is all situational and dependent on your situation. My situation's my situation. You can't have my situation. Yeah? You've got your own situation. So you have to work off that situation. So whatever situation you have, plan A, plan B, plan C. Whatever situation you have, plan A, plan B, plan C. How are you going to communicate those plans? Traffic light. It's a simple text. It's an emoji. It's literally, I don't have to send much. I don't have to send, oh by the way, it's time to get out and you have to, and oh, by the way, Mars, can you get this? And Ezra, don't forget this in the garage. And it's literally a red emoji. That's it. They know what to do. I have given them all cards with that and a small brief on it. But because I've briefed them, they know what the go is. So if they get that emoji, one, they won't ask why. Two, they'll act. Okay? Because the leading cause of getting in trouble is asking why. And that's what we're going to go through tonight as well. So have you thought out and planned what to do if something kicks off? Remember, there's many situations, fluid situations, floods. And I'm not talking about tsunami floods. Remember last time I actually talked about how I lived in Bondi. We were flooded because the sewage system didn't work. Or there was actually a really heavy rainfall and the sewage system got plugged up and we were in water up to here. We couldn't do anything. We had to wait for SES to come and fish us out, literally. I had my surf ski, and I was cruising around on that, but everyone else was walking around up to here. Being Aussies, it was quite amusing. You had your oldies on the decks just kicking back, floating. Eskies, you can see dudes with eskies just rocking around with that. It was funny. But that's not something you think of. And this was at 2 o'clock in the morning. This happened. No one saw it coming. Like God says, I come like a thief in the night. Okay, I have an issue with people that put dates on things. It's a trigger for me, so just watch out. Anyone that puts a date on something for me means that's their opinion. That's not God's opinion. That's not God saying. God actually says the opposite to that. He says, you won't know. Not even the angels in heaven know. So why would I give it to you? So that kind of does my head in, but that's just me. That's just a trigger for me. So if you want to trigger me, just give me some dates. You're gold. Now another thing to think about is how are you going to get there? Okay, EMP blast goes off. You know what an EMP is? Electromagnetic pulse. It means it fries everything electrical. Okay? So your car don't work. Gone. Dead in the water. You can Flintstone it if you want, but I don't see that going too far. First hill, you're going to cop it. Right? How are you going to get there? Okay, this comes back to something I will go in later, which is fitness. How are you going to get somewhere if you're not fit enough to get there? My wife and I train. Simple. And it's not hard training because I got bad knees. It's not anything hard, but it's so I know I can take this pack anywhere, anytime, and for a duration. I do 2.5 Ks with 15 to 20 kilos on my person. Okay? That bag's probably about 10 to 15, maybe, and that's fully. So how are you going to get there? Today we're going to look at bugging in or bugging out. Now, a couple of things that was mentioned to me and I wanted to touch on briefly was food. Now, these are awesome. Bit expensive. I'll hand them around. You can have a look. Okay? These are awesome. I just eat them because they're awesome. And all you need is a cup of boiling water. Okay? This, what's this one? That's the cooked breakfast. So it has a hearty combo of freeze-dried smoky beef, tomato, egg, and hash brown potato mix. Awesome. You can get breakfast, lunch, and dinners of these, okay? Any camping shop, online, eBay, everywhere, you can just buy them. Like, I went to my local camping shop, a BCF, have all different types. I stay away from MREs, which are the military meals ready to eat, because they constipate you. If anyone's ever had them, they'll know what I'm talking about. Now, something that was brought up last time was how are you going to cook stuff? And people often go, so how are you going to light a fire? People often go to the extreme level and think of Castaway. 2 sticks rubbing together. What's wrong with the lighter? Seriously, people. Seriously? You want to rub 2 sticks together? Go for gold, right? Be prepared for what happens. But lighters, I don't care if you smoke or not, you don't have to smoke to have a lighter on you, okay? Simple. Now I have a Jetboil, okay? I love my Jetboil. If I was sponsored, Jetboil. What is a Jetboil? A Jetboil is a flame. That's my cup. Goes in there, attaches. "90 seconds, I have boiling water. This is the 100 ml. This will do 50 to 100 cups of water. Okay? This is the next one up, which is I think 250. This will obviously double that and keep going. And you can get a larger one as well. They weigh nothing. Like, seriously, I'll hand it all around. Don't stress. Don't freak out. All right, I'll hand it around to you. But, okay, I have this because I'm situationally aware. I don't want to light a fire if people are trying to find me, because they will find me. Pretty simple. You light a fire. Yeah. Well, not necessarily, but for these guys, don't forget, we're going basics here. I'm not going full on, no, because these guys wouldn't know how to do that. But what's wrong with this? Think about it. Your plan is not to live in the wilderness for the next 40 years. You're not Moses. Got it? You're either bugging in or you're bugging out to somewhere in walking distance. And that's the only reason why you would bug out. Okay? So I'll hand this around. You can have a play, have a look. Sorry? Yep, it actually has I don't have it with me, but an attachment that goes on there that holds a pan. So I can use it for a pan as well.
It's also a good idea to, when you buy the gas canisters, when they're brand new, weigh them, put the weight on the base of the gas canister, because it actually on the gas canisters, it actually tells you how much gas is in there.
Yep.
So you can actually be forewarned when it's really low.
Yeah, no, this doesn't have that. That has no warning on it. Not the Jetboil one anyway. You can get cheaper versions of this. Like, you can get away with like $40. It'll be a gas canister and something to light it with. That's it. About $40.
So would you put one in each one of the getaway packs?
No.
72-hour pack, or you want the main one?
Main one. I'd put it in my 72-hour pack. I might put it in my 12, depending on how I'm going. I'd probably leave it in my 12, because then it's in my car. If I need to bug out to get home, so it's a red, I've got it on me, and then I put it in my 72. But it depends what you're doing as well. Like, you don't want to... So that's the bigger canister. Weighs nothing. A bit of a footprint, as in, it's a bit bulky, but it doesn't weigh anything, okay? Yes, it is. And it tells you that it's ready to go because these stripes actually turn different colours.
He's from the
Camping shop, yep. Now it's a bit expensive, don't get me wrong. You're looking at about $140 to, I've seen them for like $230 just for that. Yep. Oh well.
$11.99.
That's the canister. That's that. This, the actual firing system, and this, that's the expensive bit. Okay? So yeah, chuck it around, have a play. So your meal ready to eat, so you can chuck them around too. I know you want it. No! But what's wrong with some noodles? A cup of noodles? Hey? No? Doesn't... Okay, when you're talking about taking stuff, you're talking about weight. Yeah? No, I've got enough space in there to put 3 humans. Tightly folded and strung up, but no, when you're talking about getting out of town, you're talking about what you can carry and the weight of what you're carrying. So if you think of carrying 20 kilos, how long are you going to be able to last carrying 20 kilos? Okay? Worst case scenario, and I always, my chunky beef. Chuck it in, gold. These are heavy though, so watch out. They're the heavy ones. Yeah. Another thing I got asked about was my pick lock set. Learning how to pick a lock, having the equipment to actually pick a lock does help. Okay? So that's my pick lock set. You can get the small ones where it's like just 2 things, but I have many and varied depending on what's going on. For picking locks. Yeah, breaking. Well, remember, if worst case scenario hits and everyone's left and you're home, you can go to the next door. You think it's just going to be open? What about if someone's chasing you and you're trying to get away? Right? If you know how to pick a lock, you get in the door, you lock it. They can't get in that. You train. Okay. Okay. So doing all this stuff, you have to train. You can't just magically do it. If I gave you that lock set and locked this door and left you outside and said get in, would you honestly be able to do it? No. I can tell you straight up. Not going to happen. You could get the YouTube out and have a look and then sit there for a bit and then try it, right? But it's practice, it's practice, it's practice. It's training, it's training, it's training. And that's something we lack in the church. We love coming to conferences and sitting there and hearing the word, oh, amen, brother, amen. Do we have to do anything? Do we have to do anything? I was at a conference once and I got them up and sat down, and got them up and sat down, and got them. They were complaining by the end of it. And it's like, see, I only made you do something for a short while, and because you were uncomfortable, you didn't want to do it anymore. So imagine trying to go into the bush and bug out somewhere if you're not comfortable with it, which no one really is, except some that are prepared to do that. I've told people to go, especially people that live near Menai, to go into the bush. Just go. Just go in there for a night, see what happens. It's not going to kill you. It's a night. You can last that long. Take some water with you, take some rations, take some shelter, or don't. And see how you go. Also, talking about shelter. Thank you. Okay, someone said, what about, we're talking about if we're getting to Zion here, what about sleeping bags? I said, I'll just take my poncho, thanks. This is a lined poncho. So it's like a big sleeping bag, but not really. Yep. Oh yeah. This is rated to -10. Okay? So it's going to keep you toasty warm. But not only just this, I also have snug pack blanket, fleece-proof blanket. Okay, look at the footprint of it, right? Think of sleeping bag, then think of that, right? I do have my hammock, which I will in later sessions actually stretch out and we'll have a play and you can get in it and muck around and whatever. I have my hammock, yeah. String it across and you lie in it, yeah? Hammock. For my hammock, I actually have a thermal underlay. So this goes under the hammock, stretches out under the hammock like a massive doona. So it's not actually on you, it's under you, because thermodynamics means cold air comes under you and goes up, which means you're cold. If you have something under there that's insulated and thermal, it's not coming up. Or your body heat's staying where it is. Nothing's wrong with the ground if you like getting cold and uncomfortably hard and rocks, and go for it. There's nothing wrong with the ground at all. I sleep on the ground. You can try. I'd like to see you do it. See this? Okay. Everyone can say stuff. Our problem is doing. It's just like the word. We can say everything we want to, but I challenge you to go out and do. That's the problem, all right? I'm giving you tips and hints on stuff that you could actually do. That will keep you comfortable, safe, warm, because don't forget it's winter. You'll last 3 minutes out there. I'm telling you. 3 minutes before you get... Anyone? This was in the first course. Exactly. 3 minutes before you get hypothermia. If you lay on that ground, you honestly think you're going to keep your body heat? Yeah. Anyway. That's all planning, that's all thinking, that's all... All right, I've thought about that. Now, if I actually went and did that, what would happen? You got to think several steps ahead. You can't just go, I do that. Because I can give you 5 to 10 reasons why you shouldn't. Why? Because I've been there, and then I've gone, don't forget, my Zion, there was nothing there. We went there with nothing. We drove there and camped there with nothing. So I've slept on the floor. I've done the hard yards. And trust me, I don't want to do it. Why would I want to do that when I could get away with this? So it's just something to think about. Because whether you bug in or bug out is going to be the real question. So let's get into that. We've reviewed the plan. I also have scriptures of why you need these plans. But we'll leave that for now because we hit that time. So we've looked at God's timeline. So where do you think we are in God's timeline? For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So we're at the beginning of sorrows. We're not tribulation yet. That's where stuff really gets bad. But we're at the beginning of sorrows. Why? Because in 2 Timothy it says, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good. Have you noticed? Everything that is good has been turned on its head and they worship everything that is bad now. There it is. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Having a form, okay, here's the big one for me. Having a form of godliness, but denying its power. And from such people turn away. For all these sort are those who creep into households and make captives of gullible women, loaded down with sin and led away by various lusts. It's all through Matthew. Matthew 24, just read that. That's all you need to read, really. And then you'll have the timeline of where you are, what's happening, what's next, etc. Now, to bug in or bug out, that is the question. Who here would know when to bug in or bug out? Go. Actually, let me, yeah. So we can hear.
The best time to bug in is almost immediately because you're safe at home, it's your home. You know everything about it, and if an intruder comes in, then they don't know anything about it. So you're actually safer in your own home while stuff is happening all around, and then you then are able to decide when the safest point is to be able to escape. And usually that's after the riffraff has already passed, because the riffraff runs around, weird,
just because they're all confused and stuff like that. But if you stay in for a day or half a day and go out at night and assess the situation, keep on assessing the situation, then you're actually safer. So you're better off staying in initially and then bugging out.
So that's yellow. Amber, get home. Ready protocols. Be aware.
So you let them pass through and wait for the dust to settle as such, and then move. Is that
But, well, basically, it depends on the situation. See, nothing's ever the same. Nothing's ever what someone says it will be, because there's too many variables. But you're safer in your own house at the start, like he said, because you are comfortable. You know your area. They don't. They have to break in, first of all.
But they have those, even at night time, they have those things.
Who? Who has? Do you have them?
No.
Then who has them?
Maybe it's Terry.
I know I have them. I don't know anyone else that has them.
But the people that are going to come, don't they have like...
No, why? You're talking about normal people here. You're not talking about military or police. Not yet. No, that's later down the track. I'm talking about the protests. The so-called normal people. Okay? We're talking about them because they're your biggest threat. Not the military, not the police. They don't have to worry about you yet. They already know where you are. You got your phone? They already know you're here. It is what it is. That's what GPS is. Global Positioning System. Anyway, okay, so you would bug in straight away and assess the situation. To assess the situation, how would you do that? You might go out and have a look. Yes. Social media, mate. Straight away. Twitter. People are mad for it. Facebook. What's another way? Come on, you're going to kick yourselves when I say it. No. Look up. Oh, there's helicopters over there. Something's kicking off. And it's getting closer. I would have already been on Facebook and Twitter. No worries. I'm way ahead of that. I'm on Twitter and Facebook to find out what's going on straight away. Because people love to be on the scene, selfie. It's on fire! Yeah? You know exactly where it is and what's going on. That's how people are wired. For some reason, I don't know why. It's classic. We love to watch people fail. And we love that kind of stuff. It is what it is. But that's where you go first. Don't worry about going outside yet. You can look out the curtains. If you see a helicopter flying around doing these ones, you know it's close. If you don't see anything, if you don't see fires, if you don't hear anything, you got to stop and be still. That way you can hear what's going on. If you're going, oh, what's going on out there? I don't know what's going on. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah? You come back, you be quiet, you be still. You take a moment. Remember, okay, who was here for last week? Breathing techniques. Take a breath. Yeah? 3 in, hold, 3 out, 3. Do it a couple of times. Why? Because now your heart rate's up. Now you're racing. Now your mind's ticking over. Why? Because you don't have a plan, first of all. But if you have a plan, reset. Reset this. The best way to reset this is to breathe. Calm it all back down. Then you can refocus and reacquire what you need to reacquire, whether it be targets or whatever there is out there. Okay? So the criteria you would use to Bug in. What criteria would you use? All hell's breaking loose. I'm going home. Bugger that. Okay, let's keep riots out of the way. An earthquake happens in the middle of New Zealand and us. What happens? And it's a big one. It's massive. First of all, do you know about it? Well, I do because I have the app. It tells me what's going on. I don't just have an earthquake app. I have the, it's the International Buoys app. Buoys? Buoys. Whatever. They're all in the ocean and they get triggered when something gets happened. I have that app on my phone as well, so I can monitor everything that's going on. And then there's Twitter. That kicks off too. News, that kicks off. So if something's coming, are you really going to bug in? Depends on your area. Depends how big it was. Depends on what's going on. So you need a criteria of when to bug in and when to bug out. You're not going to bug in at Bondi if there's a massive wave coming at you, unless you want to try and catch that massive wave. Yes, I've had dreams of that. I'm taking off from the heads and catching it and riding under. Right? Anyway. So what criteria would you use to bug in or bug out? That's something you have to ask yourself. That's something you have to think of. You can't call me. Oh, I'm thinking of bugging in. What do you reckon? It's a bit dodgy, I don't know. I can hear him down the street. So what would affect your decisions? Emotion affects your decisions. Okay, this is something I'll be talking about later, but you need to get rid of emotion. Emotion is a killer, literally. Only because emotion will retard your senses. Yeah? And I'm talking retard as in the engine way of retarding. Okay. It is. It's totally true. So what if you were to bug in? Okay, these are all questions I'm asking you guys. I'm not getting much answers. I'm not supposed to get answers because I know you don't have answers. Some of us might, but this is to make you think. This is not to make you scared. This is not to make you worry. This is to make you go, all right, I need a plan. And what happens if this happens? Okay, I start thinking about stuff now. Why? Because God says prepare. If you're not prepared, that's on you. I'm here as a watchman saying, prepare! If you don't take that, that's on you. I've done my job. Okay? So if you do bug out, where are you going? How are you getting there? Okay, these are all things you really have to think about, depending on the situation. Like I said, every situation's different. If it's coming from this way because it's an earthquake, you have to think differently. If it's coming from this way because it's a tsunami, you have to think differently. If it's coming from this way because it's a riot, you have to think differently. Every situation is different. Every situation is fluid, which means it will change like that. Okay? That's why I make the first thing I do is pray. Because we saw it with the Taiwan typhoon. We were literally flying into it. We went to Taiwan last year to do Ultimate Spirit Warriors 5. And the day we were flying out was the massive typhoon. So the first thing we do is... because that's just how I am. I'm pretty bent like that. But the second thing I did was pray. And then all of us where 2 or 3 are gathered, exactly. So it will happen. Sorry, I got a message from my wife. I don't know why. Anyway. So 3 of us sat down and directed the prayer at the Typhoon. Said, Lord, this is your will. This trip is for you. You are going to make it safe for us, and you're going to move that typhoon. We literally said the words, you are going to move that typhoon out of our way. So we took off. Didn't know what was going on really. I was looking at the radar before we took off, and yeah, it was pretty hectic. It was literally heading straight for the airport, of course. So Taiwan isn't that big, right? Think of Taiwan as that, right? And that's the typhoon coming this way. It was literally going this way, okay? By the time we got there, it decided to do that and head for Japan and China. China copped it, right? Because you can move mountains if you have faith of a mustard seed. So the first thing I go to is prayer, every time. He can make you invisible. Have you ever thought of this? Bug in. I'll just make my whole house invisible. Whatever. I'll make myself invisible. I can walk around and do whatever I want. I'll go to Coles, do my shopping. I'll be right. I'll just see a trolley. Right? That's the first place you go to. We've seen it. We've seen it happen in Ultimate Spirit Warrior. It's on camera. Someone disappearing. They didn't really disappear, okay? Because I was standing there with the cameraman and I was watching them. So they were there. They were there, right there. And then a guard just walked past them. They were trying to catch each other. And he's looking around and they're standing right there. They're crouched down and they've gone, we're done. But before it, I planted the seed of invisibility. So my wife was actually one of the participants that was made invisible. So she can tell you herself that the guys actually got down and prayed fervently and believed in all their heart that this would happen. And it did. We showed it, we rewound it and showed it back to the person that walked past and he went, they weren't there. Simple. It's happened time and time again. Translation happened in Australia. One of our mates got lost, literally in the bush, Australian bush here. So you know it's gnarly. And she doesn't know where she was. And I knew where she was after she got back because of certain places that I had in my head. And she was nowhere near us. But she prayed that, Lord, get me back. She turned the corner and there was the camp. And she was nowhere near us. Yeah? I even plotted it out on GPS and went, you were here. You said you prayed and then you ended up over here. Correct? Yep. Sweet. Done. So your contingencies are plan A, plan B, plan C. Bug in, bug out. When to go, when to stay. Things you have to think about. Depends on what's happening because it's fluid. You have to watch what's going on. Like I said, social media is great for that. But your eyes are also decent for that too. You can see what's going on. And that's where situational awareness comes into it. That's where you have to be situationally aware, not situationally oblivious, which most people are. Why? Because situational awareness is a learned skill. It's not just you have it. You have to learn how to do it to turn it on.
We hope you enjoyed this introduction of the CUSP Christian Urban Survival and Preparedness course. We hope you will join us for the next segment of CUSP with Pastor Pax Cordova. The If you would like to support the Ultimate Spirit Warrior Ministry, you can send a love offering by the methods shown on the screen or visit www.theuswshow.com. God bless.